Hey, Bruce here with WeedersDigest.com, the Lake and Pond Help Desk, and I want to show you something that I recently had the opportunity to work on. This is actually at my father's place, and they've got a pond out there that he's kind of taken under his wing to care for. And when the complex was recently built, the pond was dug, did a very nice job, and then they got the so-called experts involved, and they recommended that they should plant a few little sprigs of cattails. Well, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I'm sure a lot of you knew what was going to happen as soon as you plant a few little cattails. And those cattails took over the entire pond, and suddenly there was no pond left. It was just a field of cattails. And so we went into it, and this is what we started with, and then this is what we ended up with. Now, what you might assume is that would, you could call it, maybe that was going to be a whole summer's project, or maybe it was going to take I don't know, a small army of people out there with tools. Well, in actuality, my dad and I went out there and we managed it. Had a lot of onlookers, but we did it just the two of us, and we were out of there in about 2.5 hours and took it from this to this. Now, we did that not so much by the sweat and the labor. A lot of what we were able to do was just by having the right tools. Now, again, owning the Weeder's Digest gives me a lot of the, not only the experience and knowledge, but it also gives me access to the tools that maybe somebody else wouldn't buy all of our tools. But we did it somewhat as a test, and we were kind of showing off. So we had our Aquatic mower. That's a 4-foot wide battery-powered cutter. And so we put that on a float, and we were able to walk it through the bottom, right across the top and reaching down to the bottom. That would be one of those things that not everybody's going to have access to, and sometimes you might be in a pond that is very deep, which then it would mount on a boat. It might be very mucky, and so it might be hard to walk in it. The other thing we had along with us was our Aquatic Vegetation Groomer. I've got websites for all these things, so you could go back to Aquatic Mower. Actually, it's aquatic-mower.com, I believe. You could also go to aquaticvegetationgroomer.com. That happens to be a tool. It does a great job. It's actually a gas-powered unit that you can actually put right down into the roots of the cattail and be able to cut those off. Designed specifically for underwater use, and it's actually designed as a commercial-grade product. So that would be the Aquatic Vegetation Groomer. Then, a lot of people aren't going to go out and spend that kind of money maybe for a smaller pond, and maybe they've got a smaller area to manage, and so they might just use our weed shear. Weed shear is a 4-foot wide razor blade cutter. You can be able to throw it out from the side of the pond and just drag it back in and cut everything off right down at the base, not the roots, but at the base. The weed shear, guess where you'll find that? You'll find that at weedshear.com. Then, there's a couple of other things that come in as options. The biggest thing is that, those 3 tools that I just listed are really going to do the job. And, we also had it kind of made because there wasn't a lot of what I would call dead, brown, woody type of cattails in there. So those were not part of our concern. So that made it easy as well. Cleanup becomes the biggest issue. So from a cleanup standpoint, in this particular pond, we were able to use our super long reach rake, 16.5-foot long handle, and nearly reach all the way across. We actually did cheat and put another 5.5 on, so we were a 22-foot long handle with a float on it that it comes with, and so we were able to just skim everything back off. Now, if you were in a position where, let's just say that you could not reach all the way across there, then something like our big tooth with a float kit would do a good job. And, those would be tools that you could find on our website at WeedersDigest.com. Now, the next steps, after we got this cleaned out, what the goal was is over the next, and actually it's been about 1.5 to 2 years actually, over the 2 years it's been to keep those cattails from ever coming up through the water, through the surface. So my dad's actually been maintaining it and just keeping those cattails down below the water, so it basically drowns them out. They need that oxygen that they don't get. Now, some other tips that we've put together to make this pond be less maintenance is we've put in a form of what I would call surface aeration. We put a fountain in. With a surface aeration fountain, I just want to clarify that it's I always use a number like it's 80% aesthetics and 20% to really improve the water quality. So don't always make the assumption that a fountain is going to provide aeration that's going to improve the water quality dramatically. That's a sales pitch, and we sell fountains. We sell phenomenal, beautiful floating fountains with lights, and love to sell you those, but keep that for the aesthetics. We also apply a bacteria. We carry a bacteria. Our muck digester pellets, which you could find those, of course, at muckdigester.com, is another great option to apply. But a pond, typically you're really not that worried about the muck on the bottom, as far as and this is not a pond that's designed to swim in. It's it's obviously designed just for a retention pond, and then the aesthetics for the property and the guests and things like that. So that would be using our bacteria would be fine. We also do sell some herbicides. It's not one of our priorities to sell. I'm not anti-herbicide, but I think you can do the same things without it. Then the other thing to prevent the growth is that I like using a pond dye. And a pond dye really looks great. You don't want to dye it what would be kind of a fake color, like a blue, where it looks fake right away. But if you use a black dye, and of course we carry it at the Weeder's Digest, you can use a black dye that allows you to, really gives a nice reflection. But it looks good, but here's what I'm really using it for, is because when you use it, you can actually prevent or cause less sunlight to get down to the bottom to, where the weeds and the algae are basically, ready to take off at any time when you get a nice bright sun beating down there. And then really it's just maintain it with, from there on out, it's just maintaining the pond with the fountains. And then, you probably always have to have some kind of a skimming tool. But we, in this particular pond, chose to go back to kind of a managed stage and let some cattails grow and have them grow right around the edges just for looks. And it gives some stability to the actual shoreline. So, I've kind of rambled on here, but I really just wanted to share with you that when you see a pond like this, or if you've got a pond like this, it's not as bad as you might think to maintain it or restore it or go in and transform it when you have the right tools. So I would encourage you, of course, I've given you some resources and give you some reference. I'd encourage you also to give us a call at our help desk. The phone number is 877-224-4899, and this is Bruce with Weeder's Digest, giving you a real-life scenario that happened within my own family. Thanks for listening to this long story. Thank you.